farcical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
Yes, so welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network here for this Monday Night Roundtable on the first Monday of December. My name is Jon Schneider, and yes, I'm back. I'm so excited to be able to talk about Saturday Night Live. Our friends Bill and Haynes and TJ did such a fantastic job on Saturday night. If you haven't gone to check out their thoughts immediately after the episode, they had a lot of thoughts. So make sure to go check out that show. Really great job, and very proud of our friends for holding down the fort on the Hot Take Show. But I am so excited for the first time to get to talk about this Keke Palmer episode that we have. And I have a great group of panelists to join me on this show to break it all down. So joining us tonight, let me introduce first our friend, my Canadian friend, Kirstin Turnbull. Kirstin, how are you?
I am fantastic, and I'll have everyone know that my childhood nickname was Keke. So if you knew me before I was 12, it was Keke, K-I-K-I. So instantly you know I'm going to love Keke Palmer.
Did you also think that the Drake song was about you?
I did not. That is only a childhood nickname. That'd be weird.
Okay. All right. Well, just figured I would check. There's a union forming. So thanks for joining us, Kirstin. And of course, joining us as well tonight, it is the lovely Gabby Forbes-Bennett. Gabby, how are you?
I'm great. And I am very, very excited to talk about Keke Palmer today. I was like super thrilled when I saw that she was hosting. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get into all of that. And Keke just did a fantastic job this week. What a power, what a force. So I can't wait to get into all of it. And of course, we could not do the show without our friend, the big boy Haynes is here. Haynes, how are you?
I'm awesome. So excited to be here. Getting ready for the holiday season, as you can see behind me. Just, not to take undue credit, it was Haskell on the Hot Take Show, not me giving the hot takes. I know it's easy. We get those Andrew H's mixed up, but that was Haskell. I'm Big Boy Haynes for the Roundtable. Looking forward to it.
Okay, all right. Well, we got all our Andrews covered this week and next, so it'll be fun to talk to you all about the show this week. And what an exciting show we had! I mean, when Keke Palmer's name popped up during the Chappelle episode, I think everybody was like, that's nice. It's nice to get Keke Palmer in the house, because this is somebody that I think a lot of people have asked for a long time. The Nickelodeon Saturday Night Live connection has been strong for many years, and obviously Kenan Thompson leading the force on that, which we're sure to be talking about throughout this episode. But Keke Palmer has been somebody who has been extremely popular, extremely well versed, and diverse set of skills, and she seems like she was made for Saturday Night Live. So I was very excited to get to see her on the show. And I think it's been pretty rare that, in the last couple of years where there's a host that people keep naming that they're clamoring for, that we actually do get them. And sometimes it's too good to be true. Sometimes we get a host that we all want, and then it's like, okay, it seemed brighter than it was. But I don't think that was the case this week. So I want to talk to our panel about their thoughts on the decision of Saturday Night Live to book Keke Palmer, and their thoughts on having her host. So Kirstin, how did you feel when you saw Keke Palmer was going to host Saturday Night Live?
Very excited. I did not see Aquila and the Bee. I think that's what the movie's called. So she's new to me. I think I mentioned last time I was on that I saw her on the MTV Awards as a host. She absolutely noticed her, like amazing energy, great charisma, great confidence. And you could tell that she's the type of professional, having been in the business so long, that SNL could be a real natural fit for her. And indeed it was. And I was incredibly delighted to see that she lived up to all of our expectations.
Kirstin, I want to ask you in particular, because you are also Canadian. What is your experience with Nickelodeon and Nickelodeon personalities? Because for me, there is a little bit of a, I know of a lot of Nickelodeon shows and personalities from that network, and I definitely have watched stuff over the years, but I did feel like, being a Canadian, I'm not as in tune with all the Nickelodeon culture that seems to have permeated in the United States.
100% agree. 100% agree. Keenan and Kel. First of all, I'm too old for them. Like, they were on after I'd left high school, so really wasn't watching Nickelodeon television at that time. But also didn't have that on my radar, as you say, like that. I don't know many of these stars. I think more the like Britney, Christina, Ryan Gosling, like that. Is that the Disney crew? Yeah, that crew I knew, but not Nickelodeon so much. So obviously great talent coming out of that network.
Yeah, for sure. And it's exciting to celebrate them this week. So, Gabby, would love to get your thoughts. You said you're very excited to see that Keke Palmer was booked to host the show. What is your experience with Keke, and how did you feel ultimately getting to see her on the show?
Yeah, so I used to watch True Jackson VP, which is a show she had here on Nickelodeon when I was in like middle school, I guess. And I liked it, although I didn't like she didn't necessarily stand out to me back then because I wasn't really like watching it to follow the celebrities and see what other stuff they were doing. But like a couple of months ago, she's been kind of a meme for a while with her lie detector test, I think, with Vanity Fair. They showed her a picture of, I forget, vice president in the Bush administration. And she said, like, sorry to that man.
Cheney.
And that became, yes, Cheney. Sorry to that man. And that kind of went viral. So from that, she was kind of on my radar. And then like a few months ago, I fell into a little bit of a rabbit hole where I like caught a glimpse of an interview that she did on Twitter. And I thought it was so like the 20 seconds was so hilarious to me that I watched that whole interview. And then I watched like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chicken Shop Date, which is, it's a pretty funny kind of series on YouTube by a British person named Amelia. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she goes on these little dates in the chicken shop with celebrities, and it's very awkward and funny. And it's really funny to see how celebrities interact in that environment because she's just so very awkward. And so seeing Keke honestly thrive in that environment, I knew that when I saw that she was going to be hosting SNL, that she honestly was like up for it, that she has that kind of confidence that Kirsten said, that kind of comedy. She's very eloquent, I'll say, and just like made to be a performer. So I knew that no matter what happened, because I'd never seen her in a sketch comedy role before, it was going to be phenomenal. And in my opinion, it was.
Yeah, I agree. I really felt that she was built for a show like this. And you saw that throughout the sketches on Saturday. And even not just in the Nickelodeon days, but also some of her recent work as well, especially like, if you watch Nope, you would have known that, she's in one of the biggest movies of 2022. Then also being a part of Jimmy Fallon's revival of Password on NBC. So interacting with all the celebrities, she's a part of the family. So to me, this felt like a very natural step to having her on the show. Haynes, would love to go to you on your thoughts on Keke Palmer hosting SNL.
Well, I think built for it was right. I mean, obviously a great choice. She's, you've just got someone who's so versatile. Obviously she's well known, for acting, which she's been doing for so long. She can sing. She actually released an album that charted a little bit, I think. And, she kind of hosted on like GMA for a little bit. So, that she just has the pop and presence of a host type figure. With her starring in Nope this year and hosting the People's Choice Awards this week, I think, pretty apt time to get her on the show. So props to SNL, booking department for that. And, I know a lot of people were excited about this. I was excited. I really didn't get to know her until Nope. And she's fantastic. But, as you were saying, like, folks get very excited. There's a lot of hype, for a host that a lot of people want. And it reminds me of kind of like, I don't know how many basketball fans we have watching, but during the Final Four last year, when Carolina and Duke were going to meet in the Final Four.
College basketball, by the way.
College basketball. This was the ultimate. Like, people could not believe that this was actually going to happen, that Carolina and Duke were going to meet in the Final Four. And then it actually met every expectation. It was unbelievable. That's what Keke Palmer did this week. Amazing choice.
Amazing analogy, Haynes. I'm sure all of our Carolinians really appreciated that. So great call there. Look, for me, I agree with everything that the panel said, but, not only, okay, I want to say this correctly. Not only was I impressed with Keke Palmer and felt like she was built for the show, but This week on Saturday Night Live reminded me a little bit, and I'll make another sports reference of I'm a big tennis fan. And I remember a few years ago watching Serena Williams beat Venus Williams in the Australian Open final. This was a very big deal, right? Serena and Venus are like all-time legends. And this was the last, one of the last big wins Serena was ever going to get before she actually retired this year. And it wasn't until later on that we found out that Serena Williams was pregnant while playing in the finals of the Australian Open. And it's not exactly professional sports, though we like to make those comparisons here at the Saturday Night Network. But I have to say, finding out this moment in the monologue this week.
People have been in my comments saying Keke's having a baby. Keke's pregnant. And I want to set the record straight. I am.
And she comes out and there goes the belly and she's pregnant. And I mean, she was in 10 sketches this week. Like, it's a lot of work being on your feet, filming. I mean, it seems like she's pretty far along, honestly. So I have to say, hosting SNL, not an easy job, but hosting SNL pregnant, wow, like just unbelievable. Kirstin, what did you think of that moment and this big reveal that we found out?
Well, I'm a mom, so I could tell you I would have sleptwalked through that whole thing. You are so tired and so exhausted. And listen, some women feel beautiful and pregnant. I did not. Keke Palmer was stunning pregnant. She's a beautiful woman and she looked fantastic. She did not look tired. If she wasn't showing, we would not have known. Clearly she's showing. So she had to, give us the reveal. And then they did work that into some of the sketches. But hats off to her, consummate professional, that, that did not stop her at all. And in fact, they embraced her pregnancy and wrote that into the show. So I would not have been able to do that. I can say that with certainty.
Well, I remember actually back, I believe it was season 36 when Tina Fey came back to host the show, and then she revealed that she was pregnant, and then we had Maya come out, and Maya's pregnant too, and they were singing about their future children and what they were going to end up doing, and that was a fun pregnant memory. And I think the other one that was talked about a lot online this week was Kerry Washington was also pregnant when she hosted the show back in season 39.
Amy Poehler was on the show
pregnant as a cast member. Yeah.
So pregnant, like ready to pop, like week of delivery. It's women, very strong.
Yeah. Honestly, so impressive. Gabby, what were your thoughts when you found out of that big reveal and that Keke was pregnant for the week? Well, not for the week, for the 9 months, but
just for the night. They did it for the bit. I unfortunately couldn't watch it live, but I logged onto Twitter, and literally the first 5 tweets that I see are just photos of her pregnant belly during her monologue. And my first thought was just good for her. And then watching the show, I really feel like you never would have known if she hadn't actually announced it. She didn't miss a beat. Like, she didn't seem, there was nothing in her performance that could suggest that she was dealing with a pregnancy that was so far along. And I think that's just incredible. And I hope that she is able to just sleep for the next 2 weeks straight.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. Haynes, you got any good pregnancy commentary?
Well, I think it's important to hear from a male on the subject. But no, what I was going to say, they said everything that could be said, right? It was just so impressive, unbelievable, and just such an exciting and fun moment. I mean, how awesome would it be if any normal person got to reveal, this spectacular moment in your life, in front of the whole world and in such a fun way. And then, of course, like you said, SNL is just tears you apart. The work that goes into it. I can't imagine doing it as a regular old big boy.
Her baby has hosted SNL.
Right.
That's true. Yeah. We have to include the baby in the stats. That's very interesting. But I would say, the only thing that could probably top this is somebody giving birth during Saturday Night Live, which has never happened as far as I know.
Got to bring her back.
Fingers crossed.
That we know.
Right. Season 50, Lauren. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to talk about all the sketches that Keke Palmer put on this week, but let's get into our cold open that we had first. And this was a sketch where we're going to talk about, as Haynes knows very well about this part of the country, Herschel Walker's runoff election that we have coming up, where we have JAJ coming out as Mitch McConnell, playing him for the second time. The last time was in the premiere of this season. Mikey and Cecily as 2 I'm gonna say random senators that they just chose for them. And then Kenan playing Herschel Walker again for the third time this season. And it's a lot of them trying to, get him on track. Herschel Walker, dumb. And I thought there were some fun lines in this one that I'll play a couple of them, and then we'll go through our thoughts. Sorry. Then we'll go through our lines, our thoughts on the cold open. So let me play a couple of those. So first, really enjoyed this one.
Sorry I'm late. I was having too much fun in that free merry-go-round y'all got out front.
That's a revolving door, Herschel.
See, dumb can work sometimes. So I thought that one worked for me, but this has to be my favorite line from the cold open.
They've already started counting votes by mail.
Right, but you got to remember, they still got to count votes by female.
All right, let's head to a female on the panel. Kirstin, what did you think of the cold open this week?
I like that they're keeping them shorter. I like the short, sweet, really kind of snappy cold opens. I don't mind political because it's relevant and there are a lot of characters. But I do like when they're shorter and tighter. Herschel Walker, if I didn't know any better, would think he was a made-up character for SNL because he's so dumb, which makes it so easy to write material for him, and also so perfectly in Kenan's lane to kind of play that dopey and deliver those lines with those reactions that he has and all his looks. So it was fine for me. I think Herschel Walker is always entertaining because I'm waiting to see what kind of sub-basement to the basement they're going to go into with his lines. Just how low can they go? Because it's very funny.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy for me is like, I don't feel like I know Herschel Walker any better than I knew him prior to Kenan playing him on Saturday Night Live. Like, I just feel like what we're getting is like, I know that they're making fun of like how crazy the things that he's saying are, but I just don't feel like there's an actual take on Herschel Walker here. It's just Kenan being dumb.
They're not exaggerating.
I know
him at all.
Like,
that's yeah.
Maybe they don't have to, and maybe that's part of the problem is that like it's watching Herschel Walker himself would be just as funny. But we can talk about that when we hear from Gabby and Haynes. So Gabby, what did you think of the cold open this week?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was fine. I think that it's one of those things where, yeah, Herschel Walker dumb. They just keep like it's really easy to do. I feel that the jokes kind of felt like, I don't know, like just you serve him up and then you spike him down. Like it was just very kind of formulaic in that regard. And it's very much like it kind of reminded me of I forget the name of the comedian, but during the pandemic, that one comedian who got like pretty famous doing those like lip syncing of Trump talking. If you guys are familiar with that. Anyway, it went viral. Her name was Sarah something. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah. But yes. And it was funny, like that kind of stuff. But it's almost just like the reality itself is funny, so we don't need to do anything else to it. Although I would like to see something a little bit more done to it, because it seems almost too realistic in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the issue, and we talked about this a lot. When you write these cold opens, probably Friday night or Saturday morning, then they definitely feel like they can't go to all the lengths that we got. And, the thing that's sort of sucks, in my opinion, is just like the first few cold opens we had of this year like felt so fresh and so different. So now it sort of feels like we're sort of back to the run-of-the-mill situational, stuff that we had in the last couple of years. Haynes, how are you feeling about the cold open?
I definitely didn't hate it. I liked that it was short and sweet. One of the things that I liked about it was I liked the way it ended. Very often, we kind of, the way we end these political cold opens is kind of some very common or kind of a little bit tame reaction to this last goofy joke or impression. And then it's boom, live from New York, or they give a little bit of reference like, well, I guess this is going to be crazy in reference to, some upcoming debate or election cycle or something. So what I liked about this was there was a real arc to it. This little GOP committee had a motivation to achieve something. Which is, get Herschel keep him in line until the runoff. They hit many obstacles along the way, as you would expect, but then they actually resolved it with this very unexpected and kind of dark joke about imprisoning him with Lunchables until the runoff. And I just absolutely did not see the ending coming. And I just like how it was kind of subtly dark. Like hiding a person away is funny, but locking them in a room for days or weeks is pretty sadistic. And so I kind of like that turn. So to me, as far as political cold opens go, if it's a congressional hearing or a debate, we're going like beat by beat by beat. This at least had its own little story and a very unexpected ending to me. So listen, as far as political cold opens go, I think it was, it's a solid B.
Look, I may not have given this one enough credit that I'll say, but I would also agree that the fact that it was short, like this was like 4 minutes or something like that, I think was very key here in making people open to the idea that something like this could work. So I agree that there's some stuff that's good here. And I think, Gabby, the person you were talking about before was Sarah Cooper.
Yes, Sarah
correct?
Cooper.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just so the listeners make sure we cover all our bases.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's get into no problem. Let's get into the sketches from the episode that we want to talk about. There's so much here. I mean, this was a jam-packed first half of the episode, for sure. And then update was wild, and then a few fun ones at the end. So there's so much to talk about, but we're gonna cover the ones in detail that we really want to talk about. Kirstin, do you have one that you'd like to kick us off with?
Absolutely. The one that really tickled my funny bone was Forsington's Ridge, our soap opera spoof. And what I noticed immediately was Cecily is usually the one who vamps with that real dame accent and delivery. And she was out-vamped by Keke Palmer, who nailed that kind of attitude and the intonation and the delivery, like that really kind of old-timey, silly voice and delivery where she just camped it up. And usually Cecily stands out as that person. And it was an amazing match. I would watch that soap opera if it was that for hours. Just those two women and Bowen and Blaze and Storm, the stunt doubles. I would watch it for hours. I wrote down some of the funniest things that I loved about this one. First of all, the recipe for champagne, because you just make that wherever. That's how that works. Polo horse race contest, canapes. Oh my gosh, with my financial acumen and your champagne recipe. I mean, like everything about it. And then the stunt doubles, which at first, when they came over, I was like, oh, you can see her knee brace. Wait a second. Why are these women wearing giant knee braces? Why are their legs so big? And then it was like the mouse in the wheel for me was like going through slowly, like, hold on a second. These are not them. And then all of the transitions between the stunt doubles and Cecily and the punching and every part of it I found so humorous. It was great kind of character acting. It was great physical comedy. And I want more of the pair of them together. Just more. Somehow they should have a show. They should be on The Amazing Race together. I don't care what it is. In those characters, of course, Sandrine and Alexia, I want more of that. Bottle it, please, with the champagne recipe. So that is my vote for favorite. And we started off with that, which I was really excited by too, because it was high energy right from the beginning. And that, for me, nailed kind of the ascent of Keke Palmer's entire SNL episode.
Yeah, on the Hot Take show, they didn't seem to love this one, but I really enjoy this. And I think this sketch only works because it's a live show. This, if it's a pre-recorded show, this is not as funny. But to me, the fact that it is live, that they're doing extra things here to bring out the stunt people is what makes this really fun. So some of our team who works at the Saturday Night Network were at the dress rehearsal of this episode. So they got to actually see, and actually we had some podcasters at the live show too. So we had lots of people that I know who were at the show this week. We got to see how this actually plays out in studio. So just so our listeners understand, there were two fairly identical sets that were right next to each other. So there was the one that, the main one you see them in at the beginning, and then there's the second set. And what happens is every time the stunt doubles came out, you had Cecily and Keke run to the second set, and there were cameras ready to go to film them on that second set. So it was fun to basically have them having to interact between the two sets. And then there was also that moment which I laughed a lot at, where there's this shot of like Cecily being like moving her head while being like punched, and they make it look like she's lying on the floor, but she's actually up against a wall, and they have a camera going up at her to make it look like that she's being punched. So they were doing some really cool things with the cameras and the stunt doubles, and it's just the fun nature of a live show that I think adds to this particular sketch. Gabby, how did you feel about this one?
I mean, so you're saying that they ran back and forth between sets of pregnant Keke Palmer running back and forth between this in this very short time period. That's insane. But incredible. But I found it very funny. In that one shot where I think, it was Cecily's character who goes into the mirror first. I honestly thought we were getting like the Californians kind of reunion, and I don't know what I was expecting, like who else would pop up behind her. And though that did not happen, I was not disappointed at all. I love it when sketches get really like goofy, and that's exactly what I felt with this, with the switching back and forth. I was very confused the whole time, especially at the end where it turns out that the stunt doubles, who I thought were just stunt doubles, were, I guess, guests there. I don't know. They're friends. I felt very like, I don't know, like how I felt watching season 1 of The White Lotus. I'm just like, what's going on? I don't know, but this is funny and I'm laughing.
I love it when SNL gets soapy. I think the Californians, there's, probably I would say not everybody's favorite sketch, but I certainly liked elements of the Californians. I remember this soap opera, like a Spanish soap opera, Besos y Lágrimas, back in the day, that the Spanish soap opera, Fred Armisen used to do a lot, that I also enjoyed as well. So this to me was fun, but I definitely agree with you, Gabby. Like right as Cecily says this,
I need to adjust my breasts in this big mirror.
I was like, oh, are we getting the Californians?
Yeah.
Like, is there something here that's so that thought definitely crossed my mind as well. Haynes, how did you feel about this sketch?
Well, although it wasn't my favorite of the night, I thought it was extremely well executed. And there was still plenty of great jokes in it. They definitely nailed the classic soap opera tropes. We've got the really long, fancy sounding names, with hyphenated names that include the word saint somewhere in there. And then the classic mirror shot. But it had, I mean, obviously everyone loves what was going on with the stunt doubles, and particularly like Cecily's very behind the beat, going up against the wall. That got a good laugh out of me. Plenty of good lines in there. When she said, "You didn't forget to not fellatiate my husband every day," and Cecily goes, "Well, you said that wrong." and
Can we talk about that for a second, Haynes? Sorry, I just want to ask you, is that on purpose? Because here, let me play the line, because I just want to, I pulled this as well, because I was thinking, is this supposed to happen?
Like you didn't forget not to fellatiate my husband every day. Well, you said that wrong, but I did do it, and I'll do it again today.
Like, is Cecily breaking character and saying that she said it wrong, or is that part of the line?
I had this debate too, because I wondered if, maybe when Keke was saying you didn't forget to not fellatiate, I was wondering if there was like a double negative in there that was really making it sound as in like that she did remember, or she didn't remember to fellatiate her husband every day, like in the wrong way. I wondered if it was off there, and I wondered if that Cecily was improv too. But then I realized he also says fellatiate, and as I was typing that in my notes, I was like, the word processing like red line came underneath it, and I was like, oh yeah, fellatiate's not a word, it's fellate. Fellate is the word. So then later Bowen also says fellatiate, so I was like, oh, it's fellatiate that she's making fun of. But there was something, yes, in that moment with the stacking of the double negatives that I thought when I watched it live that Keke had thrown an extra knot in there and Cecily was improvising. On second watch, I think they're just focusing on fellatiate is not a word.
But why? Why isn't it a word?
It is now.
Isn't it fellatio? So then it should be fellatiate. This just doesn't make any sense to me.
The English language is funny. But
So that means Bowen, if indeed Cecily broke character and commented on the fact that that was not the way to pronounce it, and it was just a little goof on behalf of Keke, then Bowen picked up on that and ran with it.
Right. So if that's the case, then that would be really funny. I don't know. I'd love to see those I'd love to see those cards.
Yes. One day somebody will make a Saturday Night Network out of context Twitter account, and then there'll be just the one-liners of us talking about fellatiating. But yeah, I picked up on that right away, and I was like, oh, okay. I love in the first sketch when people just start improvising. So if that was the case, I think that could have been very fun. Okay. Anything else on Forsington's Ridge? No. All right. Well, guest writer James Anderson, I believe, came back and contributed to this sketch. So interesting one. I wonder if we'll see this again. This is I guess we did get a lot of Cecily and Bowen in this episode. That's one thing I definitely took away. Good or bad, but I enjoyed getting this one. At least was kind of fun. All right, Gabby, which sketch do you want to talk about?
I'd like to talk about Hello Kitty. I feel like as a New Yorker, it's kind of my duty to pipe up whenever it's the tourism board has something going on, I guess. So it's one of those sketches where I again had no idea where it was going or I guess the context for it, but as it was going on, I kind of got the thought in my head before even looking up who wrote it, that it had a please don't destroy influence in it, just because of the kind of back and forth. And that's true. They were some of the writers. But one thing that immediately came to mind when I heard them say that Hello Kitty is a girl, a 34 or 38-year-old 48-year-old third grader, yes, is that apparently Stuart Little is also a human boy, which is, I think, more disturbing, honestly. Especially when you think about it, the fact that he made it to like a human orphanage. But
do they just think kids can't understand that these are animals? What is happening right now?
I don't know.
And you said that, and then we all started going through like Bowen's motions.
Exactly. I'm sorry.
I was Bowen this moment.
You're telling me she's a 48-year-old third grader who's clapping cheeks with a cat, no Jimmy?
Gabby?
Oh, thank you.
Anything else on the sketch that you want to break down?
Yeah, I mean, I really love how it ended up turning into like a little collab with the I Love New York tourism board. I think if I was not a New Yorker, that would definitely make me want to visit, especially the Hello Kitty store, because I'd honestly have a lot more questions to ask. It felt kind of like a fever dream, especially when Natasha Lyonne just kind of popped out of nowhere in her thick New York accent. I think that was like perfect. But yeah, it was ridiculous, but I loved it.
I can't get over the Stuart Little thing. I'm just Googling as we're doing this podcast.
Some time to process.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah. Like, isn't there a boy talking to the Stuart Little's a mouse, right? Mouse rat, want to see? But yeah, this is very bizarre. Haynes, what did you think when you saw the Hello Kitty sketch or Hello Little Girl sketch?
It was hilarious. I loved it. I think Bowen was really crushing it tonight. Keke was very good in the sketch as well. Something that really threw me off that I did not catch the first time, but on the rewatch, clearly they're distressed that she's a human little girl. Then we find out that she's in third grade. And then we find out that her boyfriend is a cat. And they immediately are like really upset. And they're like, you telling me these two are like, she's naked and he's wearing a suit. Are you telling me these two are clapping cheeks bareback? And at this point, they had not revealed that she's 48 years old. And it's like, I get that you're upset that she's dating a cat, but why are we assuming this third grader is having sex with anyone? Like, call me old fashioned, but I don't like my third graders having sex with anyone. And that happened before they revealed how old she was. So I was like, oh, maybe that's just a little continuity error. Maybe they rearranged those jokes. I don't know. But overall, yes, very funny sketch. I loved the reaction to her not having a race. Oh, you didn't want to touch that one. She's got height, she's got weight, gender, but she's raceless. So I thought that was very funny. And then I loved the way they this is just another kind of unexpected ending. I mean, who would have seen that they were going to twist, to this New York thing? It was just such an unexpected transition. And so I love that. I just felt very surprised by some of the things that happened tonight and some of the way these sketches were written. So props to the writing on several of these sketches tonight. I also have to say, and Natasha Lyonne is like the most New York person you could pick. But when I saw Natasha Lyonne, am I the only person who was immediately hoping that like Fred Armisen was backstage too? I mean, I know they're not together anymore, but I think they're still friends, and those are his stomping grounds. It definitely crossed my mind. But this was a fantastic sketch, I thought, top to bottom.
So Haynes, just to clarify, your problem was with the bestiality, not the pedophilia.
Oh no, it's both. It's both. I'm saying that, yeah, people should. Yeah, I didn't understand why we were jumping to this third grader having sex with anyone. I mean, that's not an assumption I make about any third graders.
Understood. Okay. So, Kirstin, we haven't got your thoughts yet. How did you feel about what you saw from the Hello Kitty sketch?
My reactions were authentically the same, because I had no idea that Hello Kitty is supposed to be a little girl. I grew up on Alvin and the Chipmunks, and they're clearly chipmunks. Like, it's weird. They're chipmunks. We know it. Like, there was no reason for them to think they were human. So I didn't know that this or Stuart Little, I didn't know those were things. I love Bowen. Like, I'd be president of his fan club. I probably should just start a fan club. I'm such a fan of his. So anytime I can watch him toss a chair or throw a binder on the floor, I'm there for it. And again, Keke Palmer matched the energy of, another one of the most dynamic and energetic cast members. And it was just such an amazing kind of interplay that they had with those reactions, that teamwork. And of course, Natasha Lyonne showed up. It's an ambassador for New York, it feels like. Between her and then the Times Square Spider-Man, and I was like, yes, this is New York, yes. And like so silly, like all that, and on the firefighter, and all of those moments were fun because they ended up with the Spider-Man and Natasha Lyonne in character. So I thought it was a really good one. This was my, right up there with Forsington's Ridge. I like them both, and I was hoping Molly would be even zanier and sillier. That I was hoping I'd get more from her. That's the only thing I wanted more of from the sketch.
Yeah. So for me, I felt like this sketch was good, not great. I think it was a lot of fun. Like I always say, if you're going to put a lot of people in a sketch, you better have a bunch of sketches where there's not a lot of people in them prior. So I think structurally, this was a fun place to have something like this where people are popping up. Kirstin, you hit on the two lines that I think really worked in this one, including Andrew's line.
If you mess with Hello Kitty, you mess with New York.
And then Natasha's.
This is New York. So say that Hello Kitty isn't a little human girl. Say she's a cat.
So those were the two that really worked for me. But I really felt like the sketch had something really good going for it, which is the exact premise that we're talking about tonight, which is like, why is Hello Kitty not a cat? And then it turns out Stuart Little isn't a mouse either. But I would love to know that. And then we're talking about it and debating it. And then it sort of gets to me in the territory of almost like a Mulaney musical, where you have like all the New York different like types come out and they start saying lines. And I guess my only thing is, and I apologize because I'm not a New Yorker, but I've seen so many New York themed SNL sketches. I didn't feel like anyone was bringing out anything like original about New York that sort of added to the premise of the sketch. So for me, I actually feel like there was like a cross between, okay, we're so proud of New York that this, misunderstanding about Hello Kitty is okay, versus just the complete like craziness that, Bowen and Keke are going through, where they're trying to understand how Hello Kitty could possibly be that way. And I think if they just stuck with how irate they were, I think we had something really good here. Even like how aggressive Keke was getting with some of the lines, like this one.
Say that little white girl is black.
like that type of thing was, to me, was really great because it was getting like awkward tension. And that's where I felt like they sort of undercut that with like, let's bring out everybody to celebrate New York. So this wasn't a perfect sketch for me. And that's probably the reason why. Happy to see Natasha Lyonne though. Okay. Let's head over to big boy Haynes for the sketch that he wants to talk about.
Yeah, so the sketch I want to talk about is Keenan and Kelly. And this probably has something to do with my age. I grew up on all that in elementary school, late elementary school, and then transitioning to Keenan and Kel. In fact, I tell people, the first recurring sketch character at a sketch comedy show that I wanted to see, that I looked forward to seeing every week, was Kenan as Pierre Escargot on all that. Loved it as the little Frenchman in the bathtub with his squeaky duck. And when I say I was a big fan, I was a big fan. My father took my brother and I to see Good Burger in the theaters. And that was an amazing experience, especially because my dad asked us what kind of candy we wanted, and he got Starburst because we got Starburst and we're eating them. And after the movie, we were telling him this is our favorite candy. And after the movie, he's like, yeah, I don't know why you guys like those candies. They don't have any flavor. They taste like wax paper. We found out they were individually wrapped. He wasn't unwrapping them. We're sitting in the dark and he's like trying to eat these Starbursts with the wrapper on, just chewing them up and swallowing them and be like, I don't know why the kids like these things. So that's a real story about my relationship to Keenan and Kel. So when I saw that this was going down, I lost it immediately. And I think that I kind of quickly dismissed any possibility of Kel coming back because it would just be so magical and far-fetched. But also, I think you see Devin in the car at the beginning, like as the Kel character. So I certainly wasn't expecting Kel to come along. So, the sketch, they're recreating it, and basically Keke wants to do this really dramatic version. So, she's revealing that, she's pregnant, and her drunk father used to tell her she's an idiot. We're getting all this good stuff. I used to I got into orange soda because it was cool. Not because I thought it tasted better than any other soda. Like, I watched Keenan and Kel, and I just wanted to have my own 2 liter of orange soda because I just love Kel character. Just loved it so much. So, when the moment that Kel walked back in there was amazing. And honestly, there should have been a huge cheer from the audience when he did his I love orange soda bit. And there kind of wasn't. And I was disappointed in that, but I guess, not everyone has watched as much Keenan and Kel as some of us. But listen, this top to bottom, it was lengthy. It was funny. It had, every beat was a new, exciting, and funny section. And Kel's work, can we just appreciate his physical comedy for a minute? When he's preparing his karate to fight off the J.A.J. character, and then when he's dying, all those facial expressions he goes through as he's dying, that is just great physical comedy. To me, this damn near brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah, this is crazy, Haynes, that we actually have this because believe it or not, Kel Mitchell auditioned for Saturday Night Live at the same time as Kenan Thompson, and Kenan got the part, and nary a mention of Kel the entire time he's been on the show, 20 years. And I know that they reconnected on Fallon a bunch of years ago, but the truth is this is something that most people thought would never happen, and has been the one sort of caveat to Kenan accomplishing everything he could possibly accomplish on the show. So the fact that this happened was really interesting. And I want to talk about the sketch, and then I sort of have some overarching questions about, what this means for Kenan and his career at the show. But Kirstin, how did you feel about seeing Kenan and Kelly?
Again, have never seen that show, but they did a great job of giving the impression of what that show was about. They set the scene. I can picture what the storylines probably were. I can visualize the soda thing. They really did capture the spirit of it. I imagine I've seen the show now because I saw that. And I I can appreciate that fans were really excited when Kel showed up. That energy was definitely there, and they might not have laughed just because, again, it's a younger generation. And if the orange soda thing, I was like, oh, I guess he was obsessed with orange soda. Like, okay, like it wasn't as remarkable for me. I did love how much Keke Palmer. What was her line?
Here comes the bus or something like that.
Yeah.
Here comes the bus.
Here we go.
Here come the bus.
The way she committed to it, that would have fallen flat in lesser hands. Like, she really made that sing. So I was happy for that, and it was fun. It was fun. I feel good about it because I know that people were so excited. So I'm kind of seeing it through the eyes of people like yourself, Andrew, who were just so happy and waiting for that moment. I was aware enough that was a really special thing. And yeah, it was a fun one. But I'm sorry, I don't know those guys. I think I was 20 years old when that show came out. So
fair.
But what I will say is, like, I can't think of a good example right now, but I've had moments, especially in the last couple of years of this podcast, where, like, sometimes I've been on with people and I'm like, hey, this moment on SNL last night meant something a lot to me. And they're like, no, I get it. Like, SNL did a really good job of, like, making you feel why this was important. So I think if you were, like, out of the loop, never saw Keenan and Kel, only knew Kenan from Saturday Night Live, I think you still understood, like, how important of a moment this was. And that's how you know that they did a good job with this, because it wasn't just simply like, oh, Kel's walking out and there's this understanding and expectation that everyone's going to understand what's going on. Like, they did the setup and the build to explain, especially where they take you out of the pre-tape sort of and put you into this Kenan talking directly to camera saying, hey, Keke came to me with this idea. Like, they do enough of an explanation so that everybody feels like they're a part of what's about to happen. And I think that's what makes this pre-tape feel so special. Gabby, how'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you just said. I think it was very smart for them to make it kind of like a documentary style, especially I feel like you really had to be in a certain window in order to have appreciated Keenan and Kel for what it was. Like, by the time I was the age to be in their kind of target audience, the show had already ended, but I had seen like a few episodes. So I knew like the popular references, like how emotive Kel is with his face and his actions, and of course his love for orange soda. And so I was able to immediately recognize that. And even before he appeared on screen, I think that Keke, another Nickelodeon veteran, did a phenomenal job of kind of emulating that. I wasn't watching it, I wasn't expecting Kel to show up, and so I thought that maybe she was just going to, Keenan and Kelly, she was going to be like a female version of Kel, which she kind of was, except she was pregnant and very dramatic. And I also like how, the drama that they edited into it, because, there was no drama in Keenan and Kel originally, like at all. And so I feel like that was kind of a nod at, they're much older now and the audience is much older now. And so maybe they'll appreciate this kind of dramatic experience a little bit more. And so I personally think that it is very deserving of an Emmy, as Keke wanted.
Yeah, I don't think you would have seen this moment back in the day on Keenan and Kel.
My baby needs his father. You heard that right, Kenan. Kel's the father.
So great. Well, here's a couple questions I have for the panel I'd love to talk about quickly. One is, I asked our audience, and every single week we put out polls on Twitter and Instagram where you can get your opinion into our roundtables and contribute it to the conversation. And one of the polls we put out today that we asked was, do you want to see Kel Mitchell host Saturday Night Live? So I assume, let me just, to save some time, panel, does anybody disagree? Does anybody not want to see Kel host?
I'm impartial because I don't know him at all, and I don't know anything else that he's been in, so I don't see the broad appeal.
Okay.
I'd like to see him maybe not host an entire episode, but like at least do some sort of pre-tape with Kenan so that we can get to see them on screen for longer in something that's a little bit more like the kind of dynamic that they had in Keenan and Kel. It doesn't need to be like the entire episode.
Haynes, you have a strong opinion about this?
Well, I would love for him to come back and host. I think it would work best if just organically, this appearance made some folks like go back and watch a little bit of Keenan and Kel or something. And then like there was a little bit of stir in the consciousness and in media. And over the next year, you know, he started appearing places. We saw him like show up and tell a joke somewhere. And then, you know, after like a year of that, bring him back to host. He is at least current, or at least in the past, very recently, he has been the host of a TV show. I think about like baby animals or hurt animal or animals that are friends or something. so he is a host.
Are they animals or are they humans?
Great question. I'm pretty sure these are animals. Okay. I forget the name of the show. I'm sorry, but I think he has been hosting another show. So he, you know, he's still out there. So
are you his agent?
He's like right next to you.
I'm
just bring him out.
Yeah.
Behind the Christmas tree.
So yeah, I'd love to see him host. I think he absolutely has the chops for it. I mean, this is, you know, he was doing sketch comedy when he was very young. It's built into him. So yeah, I'd love to have him come back. And I
what
think
do the people say?
Okay, well, yeah, let's let everybody know what the people said, and thanks for voting. So we wanted to know, would you like to see Kel Mitchell host SNL? And number one was yes, for sure. 77% of the audience said yes. 23% said no. So I think that's pretty high. 77%, 3/4 of the audience really feels strongly they would like to see him host. But here is the main question that I really want to know is, okay, year 20 for Kenan Thompson. A lot of talk has been, well, he's probably going to stick around until 50. Is this the coup d'etat for him to finally have the reunion with Kel? And could potentially this set up Kel Mitchell hosting maybe our finale of the season and maybe Kenan Thompson's last episode on Saturday Night Live? Haynes, am I being a conspiracy theorist or do I have something here?
I mean, that's juicy. I think that's pretty grand. I do think, I mean, this at this point, I think who knows what Kenan really wants to do, but I would see him going all the way to 50 at this point. If, you know, there has been a little bit of, you know, recent controversy about Kenan, if he feels like he needs to skip town, then, you know, maybe this would be a good way to do it. Listen, bringing back Kel and then having him host later in the year would be amazing. Maybe this is enough time, John, for kind of a mini version of that little play, you know, to play out that I just described. Like maybe this is it. Lauren's planting the seed. You're right, because maybe they'd love to do something like that. I mean, I would love to see it happen, but I do think it's a tad grandiose.
Okay. Gabby, am I crazy?
I think that Kel should replace Kenan and they shouldn't acknowledge it at all and just go on like normal. It also sounds like it would be the plot of an episode of Kenan and Kel.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kirstin, you want to get on this?
At the risk of getting controversy going, I don't see it at all. No, I don't. I think there are just so many other people out there that I want to see host. I think the reason it might happen is because it's Kenan's last wish and it is granted. I do hope he stays till 50 because why not? That's just seems like a nice time to go. If he does, maybe he'll just stay forever. He'll just stay forever. And I agree. I love, Gabby, what you said about a pre-tape for them. Just something that allows them to really shine. And I don't know that a whole show would give us just that real good hit. I'd sign up for that.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that last May when we saw Natasha Lyonne was hosting the finale, everyone was pretty sure that Adie and Kate were going to leave the show because they knew how close Natasha was to them. If Kel Mitchell comes up as the name in May, I think we can put it on the books that this will probably be it for Kenan. So let's keep an eye out for that.
And Natasha is just, you know, she just comes
Maybe
before
she's
people
like
leave.
the omen, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The kiss of
That's
death.
true. For sure. Okay, the sketch that I want to talk about, I'm very excited to talk about this. How about, as Haynes would describe himself, how about Big Boys? Let's talk about that one. That was a pre-tape that we got this week, penned by Punky Johnson, Streeter Seidel, and Vanessa Jackson. And here we have SZA taking a big role here as the chorus leader, and Keke and Ego and Cecily and Punky talking about the different big boys and how it's cuffing season and they need to find somebody to bring them some warmth. And we get a lot of fun play on words here with, you know, different descriptions of what big boys do and the specifics of big boys. And again, I mean, this harkens me back to some of the days of the best digital shorts that we had when music videos felt fresh and fun and exciting. They had a good hook. They made you want to send them to your friends. I really loved so many moments of this. And even the fact that, like, again, like, you know, this was something that I think Sandberg would do a lot, is like there would be some type of break in the action at some point, and we would get like a little bit of a scene happening in the video that would make you laugh and chuckle. And I love that moment where like Devin Walker like almost dies in bed, and then we get we get this from Ego.
Did this man just die?
It's just such a great line delivery in the middle of a really fun music video. I think that for me, this hits on all cylinders. And I got to say, like, you know, completely underutilized Punky Johnson gets a moment to shine here. And it goes to show you how great she is. And this is the thing that I'm always talking about with Punky is, like, you know, for cast members who you don't get to see on screen a lot, all we need to do is have moments where we get to see them as either versions of themselves or themselves. And the fact that she took a moment here in this video to go off and explain, like, hey, I like girls, but it doesn't mean that I can't like some big boys and warmth too, is exactly what we want, because we get to know her better. So I am just so thrilled that this happened in the show. Kirstin, what were your thoughts on Big Boys?
Yeah, it was funny. It was so thorough. The amount that they explored all of the big boy qualities and benefits. Yes, sleep apnea, for sure. She thought he died. And very well delivered line. I agree. These bears don't hibernate in the winter, shoveling in their shorts, like, checked every box. They sat there and they brainstormed until they thought of every possible selling feature of the big boy. And you can tell they did. And the song was that much better for it. And I do love that Punky got her moment. And I do love that they, you know, kind of broke out of that to say, don't you like girls or women, or however they phrased it. And if you think back to television, gosh, even 10 years ago, that I just think that would have been a silly big deal. And it's just normal now, because it is normal. And I do love that progressiveness too, that it's just being treated as like, okay, no, but hold on, let me figure this out. We're not asking because you like girls. We're like, why are you singing about this in the song right now? Oh, because you also like the big boy qualities, right? Of course. And then she lists them. So I think that was really well done. It was really funny. I really enjoyed this one.
It was great. Gabby, how'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I really loved it. I loved the inclusion. Something about it, like you said, reminded me of the Lonely Island when they used to do these kinds of music videos. I don't know what it was, but immediately as I started watching it, I was like taken back to 7th grade when I used to like download those like Lonely Island music videos on my PSP, because that was my main device. So I didn't have a smartphone, and like watch those for entertainment over and over again. And I'm like, I could totally do that with this video. There's just something about the timing of the jokes. Like, I love the forget a 6-pack, I need the whole damn keg line. The steaks on steaks on steaks on steaks on steaks. And for some reason, Cecily's delivery of the word enormous, like I think she said it like 3 or 4 times, that really tickled me. I don't know why. But yeah, I just thought it was really funny. And I love seeing Punky shine.
Gabby, you didn't also drive around with your friends with the windows down, blasting "I Just Had Sex" while you're driving by people? Is that not you?
No, I was more like a boss
Yeah,
person. Yeah.
For sure. Big boy Haynes, how do you feel about this one?
Loved it. Fun premise. Love to see the guts getting some love. I did not notice the homage to Jurassic Park on the first watch, where he looks down at his like cup of coffee or hot chocolate, and you see ripples like moving it, and then you realize like these big boys are come stomping in. So that was nice. And then of course later we saw Chris Pratt, so another Jurassic Park tie-in. So a lot of Jurassic Park stuff going on here. But no, just really funny top to bottom. As we said, you know, kind of hit on, you know, so many aspects of being a big boy or being with a big boy in the winter, I guess. The snoring thing is so real. I have had the exact same reaction, like sharing a hotel room with my dad, or like had a buddy who passed out on the couch and they're just like, it's the most violent snoring, and then it goes dead silent and you're like, oh my God, is he okay? And then when it starts again, it's often just like rips back into it. Like they're just like gasping for air. You're like, oh my God, like this person is, I hope they're surviving right now. So yeah. And like everyone said, like I have loved to see like the moments where Punky has had a chance to shine, and she's had some good ones this year. And honestly, like she's got a sick flow. Like she had the best. She clearly had the best verse. She sounds like she could really rap. So that whole thing was very fun and lovable. It was kind of wholesome. So yeah, just great vibes for the holiday season.
By the way, in the pre-show, we were having an intense debate of whether Haynes was a big boy or not, and I told him to save it for later. But
audience poll.
Yeah, audience poll. We're gonna put that up next Monday. So, Nicole. Okay. So, speaking of Punky Johnson, I was chatting with our friend Punky yesterday, and I was curious because she wrote this, and I was congratulating her on the success. So I said to Punky, I said, how long were you working on this? And I thought this would be fun to share. She said it was cool to share with the audience. So she says, Woo Man. Started as an idea in a small office on the 17th floor on a Monday, and then it just went from there. The writing took about 10 hours on Tuesday. Had to get the music man to create the beat we wanted. We read it at the table Wednesday. It got picked. Then we had to rewrite it and get it TV ready by Thursday. Had to film and then record vocals on Friday and then edit on Saturday. It was a no sleep week. So
3 tapes of work.
Yeah, just to show you. And I'm just so impressed and congratulated her for like all of her success for being able to pull this off. It just goes to show you this is not like something, we always hear about like how amazing the crew is that they're able to put this stuff together. And just like, this is not something that happens in a few hours. Like the fact that they're just grinding all week long to get this thing out is so fantastic. So just really congrats to everybody who put this together. And I hope it gets, I think this should actually get some award consideration. That's how good it was, considering some of the ones over the last few years that have gotten some notoriety in that sense. So great job, Punky and Vanessa and Streeter on this one.
I have one thing to add. I rewatched it on YouTube, and I saw that some of the top comments were some of the featured big boys talking about how great an experience they had on set.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so those were the sketches that we really wanted to dive into, but I would love to go through the panel and find out if there's anything else from the episode they want to make sure that we cover tonight. Haynes, I'll start with you. Anything else from the episode you really want to talk about?
Well, we talked about the monologue a little bit, which is really great. Honestly, I think we could talk about both Weekend Update appearances.
Sure, let's do it.
So yeah, listen. I guess I'll start with Michael Longfellow, the son of a divorce lawyer. I thought this was really great. And Weekend Update in general was really good this week. I just thought some of those jokes were really smoking. Especially that Florida's key demographic is grandmas under 30. I don't know why that got me. But when Longfellow came out, he just has such a great way of, like deadpanning these lines. And when he says, first of all, I would have laughed at "Don't Call Me Shirley" without the kicker to it, just because it's so overused, and it was funny that someone would actually do that on SNL. But then the snakes on a plane, like that was a nice little kicker reference. And then we go into his story about coming from a family full of divorce. I really liked him talking about his new stepdad Terry. His other dad, his real dad, wears a business suit like 24/7. His new stepdad Terry, is a nudist who you've seen naked 43 times. And he says, you know what happens when you see your stepdad naked? You don't think it's going to happen 42 more times. And then Colin says something like, well, I hope he has a nice body. And he goes, why?
That was the most amazing thing that gave me the biggest laugh.
It was just great delivery, and talking about like, his dad's divorce lawyer who's divorced, says the guy walks the walk, and he talks about him, that his next wife was actually one of his clients. And he's like, some people might call that a conflict of interest. I say he got that dog in him. It's just like, it was just really, really funny. Yeah. How'd you guys like the Michael Longfellow bit?
I just thought he was so great. Like, I can't say enough about how great he's doing. I think the biggest thing I'm struggling with is just like, I can't tell if he's more Kevin Nealon or Norm Macdonald. Like,
Right.
And that's the crazy thing for me is like when he first came out, I was like, oh God, this is Kevin Nealon. I'm like, wow, this is really cool that SNL found somebody like that. But then I'm starting to see like Norm in him, and Norm is such a unicorn, right? Like there's like nobody else like Norm, but like, is Michael Longfellow a little like Norm? And then my mind's racing. It's like, okay, but if Michael Longfellow came on Saturday Night Live in the 80s, like, would he be the guy? Like, would he be the one on Update? And I'm like, I kind of think he would. Like, he's just really great. I think we're set up. I mean, the younger cast, and we'll talk about Sarah Sherman, I'm sure, in a second, is so fantastic. I think they like this rookie class that we're building here. Like, we really have something. The rookies, the sophomores, like there's something cooking here. So I'm loving what I'm going to see. Gabby, did you have a strong feeling about what you saw from Longfellow?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that he reminded me a lot of Norm Macdonald. Yeah, I think that his deadpan delivery is phenomenal, and I just want to see more of it. I could see him being in like a really kind of irreverent, wacky Adult Swim kind of like talk show, like that kind of vibe is what I get from him. And I of course love Sarah in her character. I just love her dedication. Like during that whole bit, she did not like break once. Like her movements, everything was just as strong in the beginning as it was when it ended, and I very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wanted to talk about Big Boys as a sketch, but to me, the Sarah was the moment of the night, and I will get into it in a second. But Kirstin, any thoughts on Longfellow first?
Yeah, he think about how many times he's been on Update as a rookie member in the first 7 episodes we've looked at, however many. That's pretty remarkable. I don't know the stats on that one. I'm sure we could find out from one of our awesome team members. But I think that says a lot about his value among the team there. He's always funny. And yes, I think I also look forward to the deadpan delivery and like what he's going to come up with next, because it's unexpected. I know the tone he's going to have, and I know the kind of, the way he's going to say it, but I'm still waiting for those zingers because they're always such a delight. And then Sarah, here is the award for making people uncomfortable, but the way she delivers, she's not, although she in real life dresses quite colorfully and boldly, like when she's playing these characters, it's not the face or the voice or the character you expect to be saying anally entered 5 million times, or all of the things that she says in the many different ways we've seen her on the show. And she doesn't give, like, she's not like, oh, I'm saying these things, it's so naughty. She's like, no, these are just things that are silly, and I'm going to say them, and it's going to make everyone uncomfortable. And then on the inside, she's super delighted by how awkward she's making it seem. And it's us. We're the ones who are awkward, right? Like, we're the ones who find it uncomfortable. She doesn't. She's fine with all of this humor. So I do love seeing, yes, her and him both on Update. I'm really excited whenever they say that someone, they're going to bring someone out. I find now in the last few episodes that I'm like waiting to see who it's going to be, and it's one of the most exciting things. And I did that the most on this weekend show. So that says a lot after watching SNL for so long.
For sure. And one last point on Michael Longfellow. Last season, we were talking about how great of a rookie campaign that JAJ was having at the start of the season. Through 7 episodes, JAJ was in 21 sketches. Through 7 episodes this year, Michael Longfellow has been in 22 sketches. So I know that there's less cast members, so there's a little bit of caveat there. But what I will say is he's having, to me, just as strong as a rookie season. And we were just praising JJ so much last year. So I have to say, like, he's really been by far fantastic on the show. The rookies all have been great, but really Michael Longfellow is so impressed with. The other person I'm so impressed with, I have to say, Sarah Sherman. And, Kirstin talked about it a little bit. This line.
Until they anally enter each other.
Love it so much because we've seen so much. Sarah has the opposite problem where we've seen so much of Sarah that we feel like we know her so well. And it's like, okay, well, we would love to see what she could do in the Saturday Night Live format. And here she comes out as a character that's not herself. Instead, she's playing Trish Dale, I believe. And it was so much fun to have her with Michael Che instead of Colin Jost, and then also have her play a character here. Like, how fantastic was that? And I just think she crushed this, just everything that she was doing. And then she even threw in like a subtle meta nature to this, where Colin Jost was like interrupting and goes like this.
I hate to interrupt.
Which was so great, because it's like, you know, that there's like some Colin Sarah stuff there. Oh god, that was so funny to me. But yeah, even Kirstin was doing it on camera. If you're watching, like, even just like the hand movements, everything was great. But I have to say, my takeaway from this Sarah thing is, I think that we were asking the question coming out of last year, like, who the Kate replacement is, and I think it's Sarah. And I don't think it's because that, you know, we had this clear, like, Kristen Wiig goes into Kate McKinnon, and they seem like very similar cast members. I don't think Sarah Sherman is Kate McKinnon, but I think she's becoming the star of the show the way that Kate McKinnon was the star of the show throughout her time. And almost like, you know, similar to like Will Ferrell, where we talked about it, that's his era. I wonder if we're heading towards the Sarah Sherman era, because I think that she's the one that is hitting every single time she's on the show. Like, she probably has the highest success rate of what she's producing, and they're giving her opportunities now. And I really feel like if I had to invest in anybody on the show right now, it would be Sarah Sherman, because I feel the same way we talked about Kristen and Kate were built in the lab to be on Saturday Night Live. I feel like Sarah Sherman was made for this show. So I am utterly impressed with what we're getting from her so far this season. And we talked about MVPs on Point Counterpoint. I think she is the MVP right now of her second season on the show. All right. Gabby, anything else from the episode you want to make sure we talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch upon choir practice for the sole point that the name of the high school, Christ Wound High School, really caught me off guard. It sounded like an AI generated like Catholic high school name, and I just wanted to shine a light on that. I also appreciate the Bowen's phone call where he says that Kiki's character is now going to be on Broadway as Fanny Bryce, and I thought that was a great little add-in. I also wanted to point out Molly's performance. I thought that it was phenomenal. I like when they redid this song, you know, to add a little pizzazz to it. For whatever reason, it reminded me of like Lil Jon, like kind of the hype man role, and I want her to do that like as a side gig professionally now.
Yeah, what I think makes this sketch work is just the fact that Keke Palmer is not known specifically for her music. So the fact that then she comes out and sings so amazingly is what gives this gravitas. Because if this was like, you know, any double duty, you know, female musician over the last few years that came out and do this sketch would be meaningless. But it's the fact that it's Keke Palmer that does this, I think, actually makes this an interesting sketch. So for me, that was very fun.
And she's a phenomenal singer, so.
True. Yeah. If it was Ariana Grande, I would have been like, that tracks.
Yeah.
But my jaw was on the floor when she sang.
Me too. I knew that she had released music before, but I did not know she was that good. If I had been glancing away from the screen for half a second, I would have been like, oh, wait, was that SZA and not Keke who came out? You know, like she was amazing. And to comment on the, you know, the comment that Gabby made about naming the school Christ Wound. It's so hard to tell a crucifixion joke unless you nail the execution.
Okay. Yeah.
I like Bowen. Art is not fair.
Anyways, Kirstin, anything else that you got from the episode?
I feel like we have covered so much. It was such a fun episode for me. I feel like often it's been a balance of quality versus quantity. And it seems like they've moved the slider a little bit towards quantity. They're giving us more, but they actually haven't sacrificed quality. Like it felt like there was a lot of show and there were so many sketches. And I love that format, and I hope they continue with it. I think it is a bit of a product of having a host like a Keke Palmer who is so agile, and it seems like her experience and the agility she has to just pop into characters and sketches, and she had writing credits like that, I feel like relaxes the cast a lot. So there is less handling and more play and more fun and more creativity. And so they were able to, generate all of these really great ideas and put together a more complex show. When you think about the Forsingtons, or whatever they're called, I don't even remember now.
Yeah.
My champagne people, Forsingtons. That's not easy to do, that choreography, when clearly they had a very busy week. So I think I really overall am enjoying that they are moving at a faster pace. We're getting so many more cast members' faces and ideas and creativity on the screen, and that we are finding just new and interesting hosts, and someone like Keke Palmer, who, yes, everyone wanted. They wanted her for her reason, and that she brought such a great energy overall to the show that produced this group effort. Like, she had such a key role in it, and whether she set that pace or she just helped maintain it as a pregnant woman, I was thrilled with it overall. So I think you did a poll, didn't you? Is this the best episode?
Well, no, it
of
wasn't
the
the best
season?
episode. Was Keke the best host this
That's
season?
right. Was Keke the best host? Yes. So
Yeah, it's a great transition point. So, Kirstin,
Yeah,
you think
yeah,
she was?
I'm going to say she was. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Gabby, do you think that Keke was the best host? I'll just remind the audience: Miles Teller, Brendan Gleeson, Megan Thee Stallion, Jack Harlow, Amy Schumer, Dave Chappelle, and now Keke Palmer. Who's the best host?
I'm gonna have to go with Keke. I mean, she just blended with the cast so well. She had almost like a perfect performance in my opinion. Even if there was a moment where she messed up, I did not recognize it, and if she did, she just carried it very smoothly, and it was just very
Fellatiate.
yeah. Well, maybe question mark.
Question.
Yeah. I mean, there's even a moment in the Arby sketch, which I also loved and was confused by, where I think it was, I don't know, one of the third or fourth sketch of the night. And there was a moment when she delivered that, I know bread is cheap, but it's not $, something like that, where I had a moment and I was just like, she fully could have been a cast member in a past life and it would have been perfect. And so that's why I think that dynamic that she brought to the show, in my opinion, makes her the best host of the season so far.
Yeah, here's that one.
I know bread is super cheap, but it's not $.
Definitely right. Haynes, do you think that she was the best host this season?
I think that as a host, she gave the best performance. I'm saying it that way because I may be making things complicated here, but I still think, because of the type of comedy I like and the places it goes to and getting people on the edge of their seat to talk about stuff that's very real in a lot of ways, the Chappelle episode had the best sketches overall, and that type of content you can't write unless Dave Chappelle is the host, So she gave the best performance. She is such a natural host for this show. I really would love to have her back, but I think about but the sketches we're doing are like regular SNL sketches. When Dave Chappelle hosted, it was an episode of Chappelle Show, and it was wild. So there's that influence as well, but she was stunning as a host.
Totally agree. And how did the audience feel about this? So if you voted in our poll today, then you were able to contribute to the conversation. And the results were 64% only said that Keke Palmer was the best host we have had this season. 38% said no. So yes, definitely the majority felt that way. But I guess with all the choices to pick from, there were others that people felt strongly about. So 64% yes, 38% no. But we also wanted to know who the MVP was of this episode. And remember that people can pick the host, the musical guest, cameos, or any cast member. And I'm going to go around the panel and I'm going to ask for what they think the top 3 was from this week. And then we'll reveal your results. So Kirstin, I'll start with you. Who do you think the top 3 was?
On the spot. Okay. Keke Palmer, Sarah Sherman, Bowen Yang.
Keke, Sarah, and Bowen. Gabby?
I was going to say the same thing, but I'll switch it up and say Keke Palmer, Bowen Yang, and Sarah Sherman.
Okay. Haynes, what about you?
This is really tough because I was also going to say Keke and Bowen. Sarah, when we saw her, was so impactful, but Cecily was like in everything. So it's a little bit of a toss. I'll say Keke, Bowen, and Cecily just to be a little bit different.
Okay. Bowen and Cecily dominated this episode as far as appearances, screen time, whatever it is. And we'll find out that information more on By the Numbers later in the week. But they were not in the top 5 of what people felt were the MVPs from this episode. So we had a ton of votes come in this week, both on Twitter and Instagram. And our top 5, you got the first one right. Keke Palmer takes this one, 42%. Sarah Sherman, 24%. How about Kel Mitchell, 13%? A lot of Kel Mitchell votes.
The millennial vote.
The face.
Yeah, just amazing. And then Kenan Thompson at 7%. And I guess you voted for Kel. You might vote for Kenan. So that makes sense. And look at that. Punky Johnson comes in 5th place, 6%. And I believe that's 6. And then 7 was Bowen and then Cecily. So they came in 6 and 7. But Punky cracking the top 5 here. So look at that. What a fun group we have. Keke, Sarah, Kel Mitchell, Kenan Thompson, and Punky Johnson. This has to be just an incredible MVP week. Yeah.
That's a TV show right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we have a lot more coverage of this episode later on in the week on the network. But for now, for this episode, let's talk about what's coming up next week. And believe it or not, we have the return. Since 2009, we have not had this guy host the show. It is Steve Martin, who has hosted the show so many times. And I'm so excited to have him back. This show is going to mean so much to me. And how about former cast member and also a 3-time host, Martin Short, coming back to host the show? They're doing it together. This is something that we talked about last year a lot. And we ended up getting Selena Gomez hosting the show, who the connection is from Only Murders in the Building. But now we get Steve and Marty together, who not only are they on a show together, they're touring together, they're great friends. They have previously hosted the show together back in season 12 of the show. So this is a show that was made for the fans. If you love the show, you know Steve Martin is the host of all hosts. Marty is one of the most energetic, fun cast members we've ever had on the show. Expectations are extremely high. Let's get into our thoughts. Haynes, I'm going to start with you on this one. How are you feeling about what's coming up next week?
How am I feeling? I mean, yeah, this is about as excited, as you can get for an episode. As you said, Steve Martin is the king of hosting, and Martin Short's, just so amazing. He's insane. As far as predictions, I mean, yeah, a Selena Gomez cameo would seem appropriate, more so than a Chevy Chase cameo probably at this point. I'm going to put the over under on banjo appearances at 1. I think we either get it during the monologue, whilst Martin Short is giving us his like, oh brother, this gag again kind of attitude, or during a Brandi Carlile sit-in. But of course, it would have to be the second performance, because I feel like if he came out the first one, it's like awkward. You're kind of stealing her moment. Like let Brandi shine, and then let them have a moment together later. I think it would be fun. But I expect that both will be in basically every sketch. They will dominate the episode. There's no reason that they shouldn't, unless there's some really complicated costume change and they can't shift the show around in a way to put it before a commercial break or something. The monologue will be stellar, although the bar is set pretty high after this week. My hopes couldn't. You
don't think Marty's going to announce he's pregnant, right?
They both need to overdo it.
Yeah, both pop their shirts open. So I'm just really, I think it'll be magical.
I agree. Gabby, how are you feeling about what's coming up next week with Steve and Marty?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Honestly, low-key kind of want Keke Palmer to be on that Steve Martin trajectory. I just want her to be able to host more over her lifetime because I'd love to see that personally. But what I'm really interested in seeing actually is how they work together with the rest of the cast and their writing style. Obviously, styles have changed a bit since season 12. And so I'm very curious about the kind of sketches that are going to be written for them and how they're going to be. Like, first thing that pops into my mind is, if you're familiar with the that scene of Steve Buscemi in 30 Rock with the "How do you do, fellow kids?" That's kind of what I'm picturing with them, getting down to 30 Rock. And so that's something I'm excited for. Predictions. I'm predicting that they might do something together during Weekend Update. Like, I think that's something like that they'll just want to maximize, like, get as much screen time in there as possible for this, double header of a host. But yeah.
Okay, Kirstin, how are you feeling?
Well, these are legends. This is incredibly exciting. And yeah, picking up, Gabby, on what you said about how that changes the dynamic right now, because there is a really great flow among the team that is currently putting this show on every week. And these two are so famous and so legendary that they almost suck the air out of the room. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, just in a way that things change and it becomes very much about them. And so I'll be curious to see how many of the other cast members become very secondary background players just because these two are revered so much and they take up a lot of space. Predictions, I think if any banjo playing happens during a sketch, then it could be Martin Short also slinking across a piano and there's some sort of musical number. I think Selena or someone's got to show up. There's going to be cameos. The Rolodex, look at me aging myself. The Rolodex of these two is insane. So I predict many cameos and I suspect some really good ribbing over like how many, what's the status of Steve Martin? Is he like 15 timer?
Yeah, he's hosted 15 times. This will be his 16th time, one away from the record of Alec Baldwin.
And what about Martin Short?
Martin Short, this will be his 4th time hosting the show.
Okay, so that's something's going to be said about that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
But it's appointment viewing. Like, I may actually stay up for this one because I'm also a Sunday watcher, but I may actually stay up. And this is the holiday episode, is it not?
No, we have one after, which is the Austin Butler episode. But
how does Austin follow that?
Right. I don't know. Good luck. Good luck, buddy. But we'll talk about that, I guess, as we keep going. But really, go ahead, Haynes. Yeah.
Can I just piggyback with a ridiculous idea off of something that Gabby said?
Of course.
If I know this is asking, this is asking a lot. But if we came back from that commercial break, dun 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 dun, and they start playing the Weekend Update music, and then they cut to the desk, and it's just Steve Martin and Martin Short. No, Michael, and then immediately Steve Martin's like, "I'm Colin Jost," and Martin Short's like, "And I'm Michael Che." That's what I want. That's what I want.
I'll watch that.
Yeah, and let me piggyback off what Kirstin was saying, which is that she's going to try and stay up and watch this one live because it's appointment television. I don't want to overhype. I don't like to, but I have to say this is a moment in time that we don't get very often. We never necessarily thought that Steve Martin was going to host the show again. We don't know if he ever will host the show again. I believe that if all goes well, he'll probably maybe do something for the 50th year of the show, which is possible. And then he would essentially tie the record with Alec. But, for me, we cannot take for granted what we are getting to see this week with Steve and Marty. This is an episode that, good or bad, people will be watching, I kid you not, for decades. Just the same way we've gone back and watched old Steve Martin episodes, or the time that Steve and Marty hosted with Chevy, or moments. These are things that this is a very special show. And for all the cast, the crew, the writers, if you're holding anything back, this is the week to bring out your best ideas, because I think that this is the show where you're going to get not only us, your SNL watchers that watch everything, but you're going to get so many casual viewers of the show, people who are tuning in just to see what magic is going to be made on Saturday. So for me, this is going to be like an all-time moment on the show to celebrate these two. We don't know how the episode will turn out, but I cannot wait to talk about it. So I'm going to hold back my excitement just a little bit so I can get through our next few shows. And I am very excited for what's coming up in December. As you know, schedule here on the podcast is jam packed. And then, as we head towards the holidays. So basically what's happening for this week is we have a little bit of a swap. We're going to do our patron feedback show first, and that'll be on Wednesday night with Carlos Rodella and Casey Killingsworth. That'll be Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So send in your questions. We'll put up that form tomorrow for that show to talk anything you want to talk about from the Keke Palmer episode, or looking forward to Steve and Marty. We'll talk about on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Then Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we have our By the Number show, where we will break down all the statistics, and they will talk about some of the stats from Steve and Marty as well. So it'll be a show that will sort of preview Steve and Marty. So that'll be Thursday at 8:30, and that'll be co-hosted by Mike Murray and Sammy Kay. They'll have special guest Jamie Burwood from TV show Graphs on that one as well. So an all-star lineup coming up on Thursday for that. And then later on in the week, I believe we're going to try, and I hope this comes through, we're going to have an interview with Michael Streeter, who is the writer of the Tom Schiller book. So original film producer on the show. Michael Streeter wrote this book a long time ago about Tom Schiller. We're going to get to talk to him this week. So we'll have some fun stories about some of the films, and Michael getting to meet with the original cast members and stuff like that. So that'll be a fun interview that'll come out prior to the Steve and Marty episode. And then next week we have some really fun shows, and I believe some special surprises as well coming out during Steve and Marty week. So very excited for all of that we have here at the podcast. And thank you for joining us on this journey towards the end of the year as we celebrate everything Saturday Night Live. So happy to be with you tonight. Kirstin, so thrilled you got to join us as well. Please tell the listeners where they can reach out to you.
Thank you again. This is so much fun. Find me on Instagram at generationwomen.ca. That is an intergenerational storytelling event, all female voices. That's where I hope to see people.
Awesome. Gabby, thank you for joining us. Anywhere where the listeners can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at modestly_awesome. It hasn't changed.
I love it. And big boy Haynes, please tell the listeners anything you would like to plug and where they can find you.
You don't need to find me anywhere but here, but this is the only place you'd want to find me.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to chatting with you more as we head towards the holidays. Haynes, we got some fun shows planned as well. So thanks for everybody in the chat for hanging out with us on this Monday night. I'm so thrilled that I get to talk about this episode, and what a great conversation we had. Thank you to Kirstin and Gabby and Haynes for joining us. My name is Jon Schneider from the SNL Network. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.